She's my flower. And I'm her.
I'm John Wayne Newton.
Clay Yen Perno.
Yes, so we're gonna do a little. We haven't done a Western before, and this is kind of I don't know what film historians think of the Young Guns movies, but I don't know. We like them, so we're gonna talk about Young Guns. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's kind of a modern Western, not like a John Wayne Newton style Western, but like, the guys on the frontier, like all, whatever, majestic. Or like, you remember Back to Future 3 when Christopher Lloyd is like, haven't you ever seen a Western? And Marty's got that like pink shirt and everything. I don't know what people think, but I will say real historians think of all the Billy the Kid movies, this one is the most accurate, although it is also
Wildly inaccurate.
has some definite inaccuracies. But I'm going to get into that because I have some thoughts on that as well.
This is very much like when we were growing up. It's a pop movie with, we got the Brat Pack, and definitely something that people were talking about when it came out. We were like of an age where we're like, yeah, fucking Young Guns, and so it's like, it's poppy, you know what I mean?
Right.
It has like
absolutely.
It's more than a Western. It's like, oh, look at those guys, Kiefer and Charlie.
Emilio Estevez referred to it as a heavy metal Western, but I don't think he meant it in a good way. He tried to correct some of the things he didn't like about the first movie in the second.
All right, I'll just talk about it now. So there's, parts of this movie when they're reading the papers and stuff, right? And there's all these inaccuracies, like in the newspaper, and I feel like that's kind of part of like what they were going for. Obviously, yeah, it's an action movie. It's not like a gritty like Western, like it really was back then or whatever. I mean, this Dirty Steve and all that, but they're all pretty clean cut and clean shaven and whatever. I mean, I feel like they're almost like nudging at that, almost being like, well, this is how it could have happened. We don't know because we weren't there. But there's the part where he's like reading the newspaper and he says he's left-handed. He's like, I ain't left-handed. Or that's not a newspaper. It's like the book about him. But I guess there was a picture of him that was always like reversed. Not the famous one, but so people thought, he was left-handed because it's like flipped. But like, there's all these inaccuracies. They even think he killed 6 guys all by himself when all the other regulators were there and stuff. So I almost feel like they can take these liberties because we don't know what really happened. We know what some people say happened. So I think it's cool. Whatever. Do whatever you want.
It's cool. Who cares? I mean, yeah, I don't mean that. Who cares to you? I'm saying like, who cares? Like, did you guys ever watch Deadwood?
No. I've watched a little bit, but not enough to say that I watched.
There's also like Annie Oakley and Doc Holliday, people that are like in Tombstone that were real historical figures like in that. But it's a wildly exaggerated story about this town. It's a really cool Western series. And who cares if some of the stuff happened and some of the stuff didn't? It was kind of cool. And you're like, oh, actually, you'd be watching and be like, oh, actually, that was a thing that actually happened. Oh, okay, cool.
Right. I mean, it's based on the things that really happened, but obviously there are also things that have been punched up a little to make a more dramatic movie, I think, in most cases, and also...
But this one does tell a story of something that happened,
right.
Like it's like very much like an interpretation of real event.
Absolutely. The Lincoln County War was a thing. The siege at Alex McSween's house at the end was a thing. The kid was a real guy, obviously.
There was actually the West.
Yes, there was a part of the country, the western part of the country. It is funny they never say his. I mean, it's Young Guns, but it's not like the story of Billy the Kid or whatever. Like all the other movies about Billy the Kid pretty much have his name in it, which I never really thought about until today. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
They kind of like later on in the movie, Billy's kind of like bragging about his body count. I forget, it was a doc that's like, no, it's not really
He's
that
like,
high.
how is that 25? And he's like 5. He's like, well, we'll call it 10. You know what I mean? Like that's the way it was. Things were exaggerated back then, so it doesn't.
Yeah, call it 68 and I'll owe you one.
You're right.
But yeah, it's like, like I'm just looking now, it's like he claimed to have killed 21, but it's actually probably not like real.
Right. I mean, who knows? I do just quick point out here, it was released August 12th, 1988. The budget was $11 million. Total box office $56 million, which is not too bad considering,
Not too shabby. I mean,
1988,
1988 money too. So
right.
Yeah.
And apparently at the time, so Heaven's Gate had just flopped sort of recently, and they were like, they don't want to give a lot of money for a Western, but they were able to get the budget. And there we are. Like, $56 million is not bad. It was enough to make a sequel. So this screenwriter, right? I don't know, because for some reason I thought it was he had an interesting story. His name was John Fusco or Fusco. I don't know how you pronounce it. Fusco. This guy, I don't know, for some reason I looked him up. He dropped out of high school when he was 16 years old, traveled the South as a blues musician, and then he went back to night school, got his GED, and got into the Tisch School of the Arts, and wrote screenwriting, went in for screenwriting, and he's written a lot of movies, including this one and the second one, and a lot of he's still working for Netflix and stuff, and wow, this guy dropped. Why did I stay in high school? How good did that do? This guy became a screenwriter after dropping out.
I gotta say, it's a good story too. I'm like the whole thing. There's not really any lulls in the movie. It kind of moves right along, and in relation to the budget too. I mean, if you think about what Doc Brown was saying, Westerns were so popular that they used the same sets, back in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood style. They used the same sets, they used the same actors. It was really popular for a long time. And then 80s come along, and I really feel like this is them selling the idea of let's do a Western. We could do it pretty cheap, and they were definitely selling sex. They were selling these dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were these are the hot young dudes, the young guns, if you will. And that's what we're gonna do. And as the movie opens, it's kind of a bumper where they introduce everybody. I guess they shot that first.
Yeah,
I guess they used to do that a lot back then. But they were just let's just get a nice hero image. Let's get all these guys just lined up. Boom.
Yeah, shooting at nothing. Yeah. I mean, it was a fun little. That was kind of an '80s thing. And look at these handsome young men. We would also be remiss, speaking of handsome young men, if we did not mention the similarities back then between Kiefer Sutherland and one John Hunt.
And one John Wayne Newton. Yes.
John and Wayne Newton.
Probably
Vernal,
the
whatever
reason I had watched this movie at all so many times was just to look at the similarities.
Look at that handsome man.
Yeah, not so much these days. Not because, that we're I'm old and weird looking or anything. We just don't really look alike anymore.
But there is also...
But not 700 pounds or anything with no teeth, which I just...
Yeah, it's okay. It's only audio. You can just pretend you're not 700 pounds.
Yeah, go back and listen to that Star Trek 2 episode. You can hear me being teased about dad bod that I didn't really have.
Right. No, it's not true.
But you also, like many of us, but not everybody, choose to live your day in a 24-hour kind of every day is 24 hours. And that's kind of why you're an international spy.
Yeah, you know what's weird is at the end of every hour, something strange happens, like a cliffhanger kind of thing.
You gotta wait a week to find out.
24 hours. I think that was the first thing I ever binged. I would get the DVDs Or I think I literally bought them. Oh,
I
watch another one right now.
I'm in the part of my office that has like the little bedroom that has all the DVDs, and I've got the first 3 seasons of 24 right here on DVD, which I don't think I've watched since I got them 20 something years ago.
I used to have the TV ringtone on my phone.
Oh yeah, it absolutely changed TV in terms of doing story arcs over a season.
Yeah.
Because before that, it was all like episodic kind of stuff.
Right.
And it
also
completely revitalized his career.
Yeah, well, he was like a big star back in the late 80s, early 90s, and then, did a lot of stuff that wasn't like a star.
Yeah,
and then
he
was like,
I'm
going to go do TV.
He talked about that when we saw him in concert several weeks back, where he's like, yeah, in the early to mid 90s, my career took a dip, so I had to kind of figure out what to do with myself. So.
But I think he made it okay for actors, like big actors, to go and do TV.
I think Charlie Sheen was the first to really, because he did that.
He also
2.5 Men.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
he did 2.5 Men and won an Emmy or something for it. So.
That's weird. But at the time, Kiefer Sutherland, at the time of Young Guns, he was 21 years old. He was the youngest of all these guys.
Of all the guns.
Of all the guns. pretty cool.
I'd also like to mention another personal connection to this movie. Was that my sister used to be neighbors with Lou Diamond Phillips back when she worked at Warner Brothers, and didn't recognize him at first. So they were having a chat one day, and she introduced herself, and he said, "Oh, and I'm Lou," and she's like, "Nice to meet you, Lou." And then because they both had dogs, small dogs or something like that.
They both had bandanas on.
Yes, exactly.
He had knives.
It was real weird. And he was playing La Bamba all at once too. It was strange. But yeah, she was. Then he left, and she was heading back in the house, and she was like, "Oh wait, Lou? That Lou?
Oh no, yeah, that's crazy." I mean,
What's
is his name Lou
middle
Phillips?
name?
I mean, what is?
I
wonder. I mean, is that like a stage name? Do you think? What do you?
I don't know.
Wonder what his real name is. I mean, it's probably Lou something, but Lou Diamond Phillips is such a cool name. I don't know if that's his real name.
The other strange thing about Lou Diamond Phillips was that his wife left him to go run off with Melissa Etheridge after Lou Diamond Phillips had appeared in one of her videos. So I was like, oh, that's kind of a shitty thing to do. But love is love. So
I guess it is his real name. Oh no, Born Upchurch. I don't know what that means. So I guess his name is not Lou Diamond Phillips.
Lou Upchurch.
Maybe there was another Phillips in the SAG-AFTRA.
Maybe.
Upchurch
is kind of cool. Anyway, so yeah, Lou Diamond Phillips is also another one after La Bamba. He was hot, you know.
He was a big fan.
I mean, he was sexy, but he was hot. No, and the time Charlie
kind of got a Silver
Sheen
Fox thing going on now.
No, does I haven't seen them in many, many years, but yeah, they were all somebody. Oh, I guess I don't know if anyone knew who Dermot Mulrooney was. But.
No, good. He's got an interesting thing too. Is that I can't remember if it's the cello he plays or something, but
really.
Yeah, but he's played with like the Boston Pops, and I think he's played on one of the soundtracks for one of the Mission Impossible movies. I could be wrong about that.
Wow.
Which there's also a brief Tom Cruise cameo, speaking of Mission Impossible.
Yeah, he's like plays like he apparently wandered on the set, and they were like, "Oh, I've never been in a Western. Can I just play a guy?" And he's just like sort of in the background, he gets killed, and yeah. And apparently also on a day he wasn't shooting, Emilio Estevez played one of the bad guys.
Yeah.
I heard that sounds chaotic.
John Bon Jovi too, I think.
John Bon Jovi.
In this one or the second? I think he's in the second one. Is he in this one?
I thought he was in this one too, but I could
maybe.
Randy, did someone say Randy Travis, country singer? He's a Gatling gun guy.
How about that, huh?
At the end of the movie. Yeah.
Oh.
A lot of cameos. I
and
do
Clay,
like the...
You were in there too. Because you got a southern name.
Because I got that southern thing going on. But I do like, I know Thurston hates Tom Cruise, but I do kind of like that. Never been in a Western before. Can I be in your movie? Yep. Okay. You can.
Sure.
Die.
I mean, they probably all knew each other. It wasn't like he just wanted to play
pals. Good friends.
Tom Cruise. Pals. Good call. Call forward there. All right. Let's start this, by the way. So yeah, it starts out John Tunstall, okay, I don't want to do this for the whole thing, but I do want to point out this is a big historical inaccuracy. John Tunstall, played by what's his name?
Terrence Stamp.
Terrence Stamp, thank you. Was actually like 24 years old when this was all taking place. So he wasn't like the old guy that like, I'm like a father figure to you all. He was actually younger than most of them. In fact, the real Doc, played by Kiefer Sutherland, was like 31 and married.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm not poking holes in the movie. I'm just saying.
Not that accurate, but again, kind of like, who cares? You know, like,
right? Who cares?
Still tell the story. You get fucking Zod, and then you get another classic. I love the thing I like about westerns.
Zod versus Boss Grissom.
Yeah. The thing I like about westerns is also, as actors get older, even like Kevin Costner now, you know what I mean? Like, as actors get older, they can still play cowboys in westerns. Like, that's kind of a cool
you get
thing
more
about
grizzled
it.
looking.
Yeah, and then so it's like, hey, Jack Palance, we're doing this new movie. Would you want to be in it? Like, fuck yeah, I do, is what he said. I think.
Fuck yeah, dude. And then he went and played Curly or whatever. Sorry, that was my Jack Palance.
That was pretty good. Mine's always in Jive. I'm like, yeah, man.
There's this ad from like the 70s for like Schweppes. Remember they would sing like,
Schweppes,
too sweet or something. I've probably talked about this before, and he's dressed as like Genghis Khan singing the Schweppes.
Oh no.
I was thinking everything about this is like wrong.
Schweppes. So anyway, they're talking about getting a drink, which is actually kind of, he's like, oh, seniority, because he's like, yeah, I'll buy you a dram or whatever. But anyways, yeah, they hear this gunshot, and it's this young guy running away. They save him, they hide him. They're like, come on, because he's getting chased, and that's Billy the Kid, Emilio Estevez. I suppose we should, right? That's the correct pronunciation, I believe.
I believe so. Estevez.
Estevez.
Well, two things. Just because I really like the line about the I'll buy you a dram. He's like, and he's like, I get the first round because I'm closer to the grave.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, seniority. Which of course he wasn't older, but it doesn't matter. In the movie, it works. It's really funny. Yeah, I like it. There's
a movie. What's it called? Emilio Estevez was in a movie, Witness, and I saw that as a kid, and I really liked that movie. But but it didn't take me. It actually took me like a long time to realize that Martin Sheen is his dad, and that he wanted to kind of he did like the Joe Hill kind of thing where he like didn't want to skate on through like plus his brother's an actor too, so he went with his dad's real name, which is Estevez.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, yeah, they're brothers, but they have different names. They've been in a couple movies together, including this one and Men at Work.
Oh yeah. Which I liked at the time, but I'm pretty sure it'd be a rough watch now.
Probably, yeah. I don't think it'd be
style.
Yeah, maybe. So anyway, they take him back to the ranch, and we meet Dirty Steve, who is hacking on, as they like that, Chavez, who is Lou Upchurch, Lieutenant Phillips. I don't know if there's any mention in history of Chavez being Mexican or no, being Navajo. I think he is completely Mexican. But
yeah, I was reading that too.
But we established
it's you know what, they're taking the real regulators and kind of mushing them into half of the cast of this movie.
Yeah, I think so. Because there were a lot of regulators in real life, so then there's only like 6 here. But we get a good, indication of what things are about, because Charlie Sheen, who plays Dick Brewer, he like breaks it up because he's like the leader. He's like, hey, go wash up and everything, so
go wash up,
especially you, Steve. Just nasty all around.
I know, your name is Dirty Steve. No getting around it.
Chavez had a Spanish father, Apache mother.
Oh, all right.
Well,
Native American.
All right. So Billy becomes the hog boy, or he's the guy who takes care of the hog. And there's when they're watching
him, you know what I mean?
Oh no! There is like a fun recurring theme when they're watching him try to deal with this giant hog, where they say, "He ain't all there, is he?" Which I think is a funny thing they do like a few times in the movie. Yeah, and then we meet Charlie, who is Casey. I think it's Mashko. I think is actually how you pronounce it. I don't know, but he was one of Biff's goons. Go back and listen to our Back to the Future episodes. In real life, he was like the kid's best friend, but in this, he's just one of the guys. But that's all right. He's kind of a coward too, but that's all right. But he drops the name Regulators, which is what they were known as, John Tunstall's Regulators, and they sample some of his dialogue here in like that rap song, that Warren G song.
That's the whole point of the song. Yeah, Nate Dogg,
Yeah.
Regulators.
Yeah, and we find out that Billy.
Regulate. We're gonna get a copyright strike on YouTube because I'm so accurate with that.
Probably.
Sounds
All right, we
just
won't use that. But we do find out here that Billy has indeed killed someone.
kill somebody.
Killed somebody. Yeah, it's like he's such a young, clean. I guess he doesn't have a beard or anything. But it's kind of clean cut. Killed somebody.
He's baby faced.
Yeah, he's a little baby faced. And they have like they're all sitting down at dinner. And it's kind of just a nice scene to show how John Tunstall runs his place, because they're hacking on him for being a hog with it. Like, oh, he's got away with hogs. And they're like, sorry, Billy, we were just hacking on you. And he says, oh, rumor, how did you kill the man? What'd you kill him for? He says, because he was hacking on me. I thought that was like a fun insight.
I like how, like, there's a couple points in this movie. One of them is this at the dinner scene where they do really over the top, like exaggerated. You'd expect to see it in like Yosemite Sam cartoon where he's like, the guy like finishes chewing his food and he's like, gulp.
Yeah, right.
They do
When
that
he
like a
finds
couple of times, like in this movie, like really like, and the guy's snoring later. It might even be the same guy.
It's the same. It's Dermot Mulroney. He really got into that dirty Steve character. But anyway, it's a good bit. And then, after dinner, they're reading the paper, and we find out that Billy can read, which is, he's a smart kid. He's actually from New York. We didn't. Yeah,
They were gonna call him Billy the Smart Kid, but didn't have the same ring.
Too long. So the next day, he's out with the hog again. Then we get a visit from Jack Palance and his guys. He's playing L.G. Murphy. He's the rival merchant to John Tunstall. All this political stuff's going on. We should also point out, I guess, that the real Murphy was like dying of cancer at this point, and he's not really involved in the Lincoln County War, but who cares? It's better this way.
Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Exactly. So we
This
just
is a
get
movie about sexy fucking cowboys, dog.
That's right. We get a guy, his name is McCloskey, and he like flips. He's coming over to Tunstall's side. He says Murphy fired him. He called him a fat sow. He's like, all right, well, Bunk's over there. Like, he doesn't even question.
He kind of reminds me of a cleaner Dirty Steve. With the different hat.
Yeah, cleaner Steve McCluskey.
Yeah, that's right. So anyways, the next scene, I like it. John Tunstall buys Billy a nice suit, and he gives him a pocket watch, and gives him a hat, because they're going to a New Year's Eve party.
Yeah, I like the way that John Tunstall announces that they're going to the party. He comes out and screams at them, essentially. He's like, Regulators, let's dance. I've now taken that as doing that to Mrs. Elder when we're going to go do something fun. So when we took the harbor cruise the other day, I was like, Mrs. Elder, let's float. let's sail. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think he was mad because Billy was like just shooting off his gun for no reason, and they were all kind of like, like hiding, and he's like, hey, because like I don't know, part of the I think it's kind of like when we
hang around because he does that a lot.
Yeah. But like it's kind of like our monkeys episode. I feel like they were all young and kind of
spazzing,
spazzy. Yeah. So it's almost like art imitating life, I think, there, where he's like, guys. they show Billy dancing after John Tunstall says, let's dance. They show him dancing with a girl, and they're all like, boy, he ain't all there, is he? Just the second time they do that. And we also have Tunstall meeting with his lawyer, Alex McSween, who is Terry O'Quinn, who's a pretty good guy. He's been in a lot of things.
Yeah, Lost.
Definitely Lost. And he was in, a lot of things. But anyway, they kind of go off.
Shows up. He's cool.
Right, yeah.
I was surprised after not having seen this movie in a while, I was like, oh, there's that guy, there's that guy, there's that guy, who's that guy, who's that guy? And then I looked it up. I was like, yeah, I knew that was the guy from Lost, although I didn't immediately think of it.
He's he's good. So like
when he was on Lost, I'm like, that's the guy from YoungGuns.
Well, right, exactly, because this was before that. But right, we get more into the politics. Apparently, like Murphy bought off the governor or whatever, promised, gave him a fat campaign contribution, whatever, and all that. So like Tunstall is kind of behind the eight ball in this one. So then we get Doc. He asks this Asian girl to dance, and then he finds out later that she basically belongs to Jack Palance because her mother like ruined one of his shirts in the laundry or whatever. It was a different time.
This is really weird too, because like later in the movie, Yen is like running away from him, and he all he said, he's not saying her name. He's just saying China, get back.
I know.
Here.
He's like, does he know her name? We get a fun little scene, which I don't know if they never thought they would do a sequel or whatever, but we meet Pat Garrett, who introduced himself to Billy the Kid. Pat Garrett is played by Patrick Wayne. Do you know? He is Bruce Wayne's son. No, he's he is. He's John Wayne's
adopted son.
Oh. I don't know. No.
Bruce Wayne.
Wayne Newton is his dad. No,
John Wayne Newton Patrick Wayne is his full name.
Any words? And then he, he's like, hey, my name's Pat Garrett. He's like, oh, and then he goes, he's like, shit, I better get to be as big as him. No, bigger. So, big thing about in the Old West, right? Like you gotta be a name. You gotta be a name guy. So then we get like another kind of thing. Murphy sends one of his guys to beat up Tunstall. And Charlie steps in and he's like, you and I like, because that comes back later. I think Charlie's a fun character, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a pugilist. He just punches the guy out. It's pretty good. But the next day, they're all kind of drunk still. They're singing, Old Lang Syne, and the Regulators all go off and chase a pheasant, which I don't know if they had pheasants in Mexico, but yeah. But then Murphy's boys come up behind Tunstall and they shoot him dead. So that's dead. That's kind of kicks off the whole war thing. And they're like, Alex, the guy from Lost, is kind of like, what are we gonna do? We can't. They just murdered this guy. And he's like, why don't you deputize the Regulators? And they'll go after him. Because he's like, no one's fool enough to going after Murphy's people. I like that line. And he also says, oh, not one of them's over 21, even though most of them were, but that's all right. But yeah, so he deputizes them now they're lawmen. Now they can go after Murphy's people. But they're supposed to bring them all in for, they're supposed to arrest them, but it doesn't quite work out that way. The first guy they go after is named Henry Hill, which I thought was funny because it's the guy from Goodfellas, and also Hank Hill, from King of the Hill. I also thought this was great.
Was a real person wanted to kill. I mean, that was a real thing.
And interestingly enough, I didn't know. I happened to see this on IMDb. He's played by the name they list him is Gadik, but he's actually played by one of the stuntmen who I don't know why he didn't just say his real name, but it's just Gadik.
He's like, I'm taking my name off this thing. I'm getting shot in the
I have to
go chicken coop or whatever.
Well, he goes in the outhouse. It's actually pretty funny. Dick he's like, Billy, go in there and see what's going on, because he's in like I guess it's kind of like a brothel, or it's just a bar, I guess. I don't know, it's kind of a seedy bar. he goes in and this guy, they're like, Hill, do you want another drink? He's like, I gotta drain it. It's like, so Budley's like, oh, that's the guy. So he goes out to the outhouse and like Hank Hill, Henry Hill is in there, and you hear him like really cut one, and it's gross. He's like, Jesus Christ, And I like Billy's like, Henry Hill? He's like, yeah. And then he's got like his gun because he was pretending to urinate, but he wasn't. He had his gun down like through the fly in his pants, and he just shoots him, even though he was supposed to arrest him. So then like a big gunfight breaks out, and the regulators kill a bunch of guys. And apparently this scene, Charlie Sheen was really bad on his horse. And in this scene, like the horse just like took off and he didn't know how to stop it. He was just racing away. But
that's an interesting thing to me on all of these shows, like on Yellowstone, 1883, like, even now, but like, and in this movie too, like, boys, you're going to be riding some horses. So ride them horses good. So yeah, they have to train them how to ride horses, but it's hard. It's hard to do.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it is. Sure it is.
And Lou Diamond Phillips had a fear of heights, so anytime they had to shoot a scene where he was up high, like, not too sure about this.
That would be me. I would be like, I don't want to be up here.
So the next day, they're reading about the shootout in the paper, and it's actually Chavez, Lou Diamond Phillips, who christens him El Chivato. He's like, Billy the Kid, huh? And it's kind of funny as they're reading like what the account of what happened. They like the newspaper's saying like Billy took out all these guys, and Dirty Steve's like, how come they don't say nothing about the two that I closed down? It's like a funny line. Meanwhile, Doc sees his lady, his Asian girl, who I don't think he knows her name yet, but doesn't matter. He tries to go after her and give her some flowers, and she's not having it because she thinks he's just a killer. Like she's like, he's like, I'm just a poet with flowers. She's like, and a gun. It's a big gun. He says, it's a big town. He's still trying. That Doc, he's gonna shoot his shot, literally. But anyway.
Wait, did we already say that he was married in real life already?
Yeah, I mean he was, but
that's okay. Again,
that's
movie.
Okay. And again,
this is where she sort of explains that she can't be messing around with him because she's property of Murphy.
Yeah, and he kind of gives her what for too. He's like, hey, they can't own us like they own a little China girl for the price of a shirt. And that's kind of like, ooh, cutting. Anyway, so they go and track down two more Murphy guys, one of them being played by Jack Palance's son.
Yeah. Is this the part where they're like, shit, found some?
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Mrs. Elder say that all the time.
Shit.
Because I'm like, oh,
no,
shit.
I found some.
Yeah. Graze the Wild.
Yeah. So these two guys, and then meanwhile, so McCloskey, the guy who joined up, is kind of like, yeah, I don't think we should go that way. I think we should go this way. And Billy's like, wait a minute, you're not cool.
You're stinking red. You're one of them.
Well, basically, but it is a really violent. Like first he's like, hey, no, it's cool. He's like, yeah, all right. He shakes his hand, takes out his gun, and shoots him right in the head, like right between the eyes, and the blood splatters because Doc is standing behind him. I don't know. I love that reaction. Keep his just like,
it's like,
almost like Wendell. Like it's got to be really gross. But so McCloskey is dead. Then they kill the other two guys too. So two more guys that they were supposed to arrest, dead. So he's like, so we just killed three more Murphy guys, right? And then Charlie goes, oh Christ, Jesus, we're gonna hang for sure now.
He's like, we're deputies now. We're not, we're the law.
We got warrants.
Just shooting everybody. Dead. I'm making up my own dialogue in the movie.
I love it. No, I love it. So again, next day, they're reading the paper. They're reading about this guy, John Kinney, who's coming in to kill them. They say he killed more people than smallpox. Bad dude. Meanwhile, Chavez, he's also gathering some shit. And I like his Doc and Dick, or like Doc and Dick. Anyway, they're like, where are we gonna go? There's really nowhere to go. Everybody's coming in to get us. And I was like, I just don't know what to do. What the hell's he doing? So Chavez was making up some peyote. This is weird. I don't know. I'm just gonna. So they get kind of high. They all, except for Dick, but I guess Chavez thinks that this will somehow shield them from the.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to figure out an answer.
Oh, all right.
No.
Well, because I thought it sort of took them to the spirit
like
world or something.
But I think he was doing that sort of metaphorically, like Homer eating the spicy pepper or whatever, and seeing visions,
right,
as a way to guide, because he doesn't want to follow Billy the Kid. He wants to do something else. So
yeah.
And they, I don't know if there was rumors that they actually did take peyote, but they were actually eating mushroom soup in this.
Yes, not those kinds of mushrooms, but yeah, it wasn't real peyote as far as we know. Who cares? They were young, sexy.
Yes.
No.
I think this is great with Clayton Perno. The podcast is going to come out in 50 years.
50
or 150 years.
Well, anyway, yeah. So
you see what's on that chicken? The
next day they're all
hilarious. So good.
Yeah, Dirty Steve is seeing chickens, and I like Doc is like sort of like, oh, she's my butterfly. Like it's kind of
or flower. Yeah, they kind of put like a vocaster on his voice too. It's like the flower, butterfly, hammer, flower. And one thing that I've learned from extensive, let's say, study in academia of doing drugs, you do not want to have firearms. That is every 2 minutes somebody's shooting at something, an invisible chicken, a flower, a butterfly. People are trying to shoot stuff. You keep hearing them shoot. It's just like all of a sudden somebody just be sitting there like staring at their hand or whatever, and like always sitting here, blam. It's just really funny.
I know.
And apparently they put some sort of clay or something in the guns or something to make them sound louder.
Plaster.
Okay, yeah.
Not clay. Inferno.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought that's how it tied in with the West and Clay's name.
Oh, right. Their name.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's a couple of them got injured, I guess, apparently.
Yeah, but I guess it worked. It did make it louder.
Yeah, pretty loud. So they are able to ride through this Native American village.
That's also not Kiefer Sutherland there. That's why his face is covered.
Right.
It's like he had to rush off the set to go be there for the birth of his daughter.
Yeah, well, that's nice.
Oh,
also, man,
nice.
He's young man to having a daughter.
Young gun. Oh yeah, young
gun.
Yeah, you're a very young gun to have a kid.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so
that gun works.
Heyo, he's good with hogs.
So again, they're having dinner, and I like it. Like Dick is doing he's like saying grace, I guess, and Billy's like, "Please, Dick, it's getting cold." They both draw their guns on each other, and Dick's about had it with Billy. So he's like, after we finish this meal, we're gonna go outside and see, because also the paper said that Billy was the leader of the gang or whatever. So, anyways, I love it. So like they all this tension, they're pointing their guns right at each other from across the table, and Doc says, "Richard, could you pass the gravy, please?"
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. So this guy's riding up, and his name is Buckshot Roberts. I love that everybody had a name. I should have used a name like that at the beginning. Like Buckshot Durson or something.
Royd Weird Durson.
There's like a reward out for Billy the Kid, and he wants that. It's like $150. And the rest of them are only worth 110. He's like, "Oh, what the hell, I'll take it." And this shootout did really happen. So this part is pretty accurate. And Dick is killed. Charlie Sheen is killed. and as he was in real life, although apparently in real life he was shot right in the head. But
no, he went on to 2.5 Men and Tiger Blood and everything.
Yeah,
I
he
would
did other
actually.
stuff.
I will say that I was surprised to see Charlie Sheen, who I think of as more, for some reason, I think of more of a marquee actor than his brother, who's obviously like, in a way they're all kind of stars, but like Billy the Kid is like kind of like number one on the call sheet kind of thing. But I was surprised to see Charlie Sheen bite it so early in the movie.
I think they tried to get Patrick Swayze or something for this role first.
Yeah, I heard that, but he didn't want to do it because he'd already done a lot of ensemble pieces, apparently. So
Ensemble.
Anyway, yeah, so they're like the real leader. He is killed, and yeah, Doc gets shot in the head, and Chavez takes a shot, and they're all kind of like, "What do we do? Dick's dead," and Billy kind of just takes over. He doesn't even really mourn Dick at all. They just leave him there and ride off. After they shoot, the guy's hiding in the outhouse again. Boy, a lot of people getting shot in outhouses in this movie. But
also they kind of leave him there, which I thought was unusual. Like maybe they would go back and collect him later, or I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know.
Usually in a death scene like that, they're like, "Well, we got to bring him back to the camp and bury him proper under like a bunch of rocks piled high."
Yeah. Well, Doc does say he's going to write Dick's mother in the next scene, which is nice. He's like, "I got to write Dick's mother in Vermont,
North
New England boy." And he's got to get some fresh wraps, but he really doesn't go see his lady. Actually, I'm sure he still writes the letter, but we'll
probably plagiarized someone else's letter.
I know. We should mention every time we see Doc, he is reading a poetry or reciting a poetry that, like Shakespeare or in a minute, they say he wrote. Well, it's the Raven, but they call it the Bird. And they even say, like, not very original, is he? As I pondered, weak and weary. But anyway, so Billy is getting ready. He's getting his gun all ready he wants to kill the sheriff. Sheriff Brady is the guy that's after them, and he is in Murphy's pocket. And Billy's like, "Yeah, we're going to go kill Brady." Because he's just out for revenge. Billy doesn't care about the law or anything. He liked John Tunstall, and now he's dead. So
I think he just likes killing dudes.
Yeah, and he kind of likes killing dudes. But Chavez is like, "No, we're not going to kill Brady. We gotta get out of here. We're going to go west." And I love it. Like we find out the story, like why, like what happened to Chavez, and his village was massacred, and like his mother was killed by these people, but Tunstall brought him in, and it's a pretty gruesome story, honestly.
Yeah, the really gruesome detail part of the story that stuck out to me was like, and then the cavalry, like they bashed my sisters and my mother's heads in so that the U.S. Army could save on bullets. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah,
really intense.
Yeah, it is. It's intense. So he's like, we just gotta, we're gonna go west. And I love Charlie's like, yeah, I believe in that spirit wolf stuff. Yeah, we're going west. Like he just basically goes, whatever is not the fight.
Yeah, I'm with Charlie too, though.
Right. I don't think I want to mess with these guys anymore.
Not with Billy the Kid in charge too, because he's just a psycho.
Yeah. But Billy is very charismatic, and he sort of convinces everybody, convinces Chavez, like, "No, we're your tribe now. Like, we're pals." He uses the word pals for the first time.
Yeah. It's like Fast and the Furious, like family.
Yeah, exactly. Family. Yeah, it is. It is. But it is the, it's a nice theme for the movie.
When is it that they go through, it's I don't know if the scene before or after the peyote where they like walk through like the Native American camp, and I feel like that's peyote hangover day.
Yeah, no, it is. I kind of skipped over that, I guess.
And because the Native Americans are just kind of like staring at them because they're kind of like equally kind of like, I was gonna say scared, but I don't mean that, like fearful and pissed
okay.
that
Yeah.
these cowboys are gonna do something bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like in quote unquote this whole scene is like the spirit world. Like this is where we're in the spirit world. It's like we're among the Native Americans. I like that.
Anyway, yeah. So Doc, he goes to see his lady. He's like, "Why don't you like we'll get out of here. We can be on a train and we can be in New York in 2 days, and like we'll just be away from all this." And she's like, "No, no." She's like afraid of him. She says, "You're the bandit who eats children and little people," or something like that. And
I ain't eating potatoes.
yeah, he says, "I hate meat and potatoes." But it's kind of another example, I think, of like the stories that go around. You know what I mean? And he's like, "No, I'm just a regular guy."
Print the legend.
Exactly. But there's like a knock on the door, and he runs out. But he's saying like, yeah, he doesn't. I like the part where like they come back and forth where Billy's like, "Oh, Doc will be back. He likes me," and then they cut back to Doc. He's like, "I can't stand him." So,
And he pulls a Batman.
yeah, he does.
Like,
He goes right out the window.
Jack Palance opens the door, like, "Wait, what's going on?" And you know, you see the curtains like fluttering, and she's just kind of like, "What? Batman wasn't here."
So he goes back. He goes back to the Regulators, and then yeah, they go after Sheriff Brady, just like Billy the Kid said. And this part also pretty much happened. I'm not, beat for beat, but they did kill Sheriff Brady. But Billy, he's like, you could see he's really into this, and like I think he just likes killing people, but he's also as just before he shoots Brady, he says, "Reap the whirlwind," like he's in it now, he's not going to stop until all the Murphy's guys are dead. And the next scene, we get the famous photo that like anytime you look up Billy the Kid anywhere, like it used to be in encyclopedias. I don't know if encyclopedias are a thing anymore, but yeah, it's like the famous picture of him with the rifle at his side and everything like that. I thought that was a fun little thing to add to the movie. Anyway, he wants to give it to Alex, and he's like, "What are you doing? You were supposed to arrest these guys." So he's like, your status as deputies has been revoked. You're outlaws officially. They just drop all their badges and kind of walk away. It's kind of like a sad moment.
Like, throw them in the dirt.
Yeah.
No exit interview.
No
paperwork to sign. You take your badge off, throw it in the pile of dirt right there, right here.
Yeah. So they're they're in the shit. And then the next scene is kind of funny. They're like, "What do we Charlie is upset because they were reading the paper again." I don't know where they buy all these newspapers. They're supposed to be like on the lam, but whatever.
Maybe they just grab them as they're going.
Grab and go. But apparently it was saying in the papers that there's going to be a hanging if they catch the Regulators. Charlie is very upset to hear about this, and I love one of the lines he's more embarrassed almost because he says, "You messed your trousers," they say. Gal's watching and everything.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to shit his pants.
Yeah, the dog said, or no, Billy's like, "Yeah, I saw somebody with their head just clean popped off."
Yeah. The
dog's like, "I don't think he wants to hear that right now." It's like being a little sensitive, like, that's not exactly what he's like looking for. He's like, "Mess your trousers."
I know. That's you messed your trousers, they say. Yeah. But he's like, "You got to let me do something." So basically, he just wants to get laid, I guess. So they all ride to the wherever.
I don't know if you know about this part because there's a deleted scene after the scene.
All right.
No? Oh, well, I'll talk about it. I will talk about it once you talk about the scene. I'll add.
Well, they go to this. Okay. They go to whatever, some town, and they all give him money. So the scene that is in the movie is he goes to see this woman, and she's like. And he kind of says, "Ma'am, I just want to hold you." And she's like, "Well, whatever your pleasure, but it all costs the same." And they kind of just hug.
So here's why. Because the deleted scene, you find out that prostitute is actually his mother. his biological mother, and he's
Oh.
pretty much he was pretty much going there to hug and
To hug
kind
his
of say
mom.
goodbye, and
Mhm.
that's why
That is-
it's weirder without that, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
But it's also like, did she not know that was
I think that was it.
So
She
she didn't know.
Yeah, but
Right.
he did something. So
Yeah, I wonder why I guess that would have just been an added thing they felt they didn't need, or to have to
yeah,
explain
I
that
don't know. That's
earlier
just,
in the movie
it
or
just
something.
made an
I don't know.
awkward scene like more
Right.
awkward not knowing that, I guess. So.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
But anyway,
Hey. I guess if you're a prostitute in the Old West, you might have a lot of kids running around and you don't know.
it's quite possible. Yeah.
You know, they didn't necessarily have, the pill back then or condom. Meanwhile, while that is going on, there's a guy in the bar bragging about how he's going to kill Billy the Kid and whatever. And Billy's like, oh, hey, you're going to kill Billy the Kid? That's cool. And yeah, like he's like, is that the gun you're going to shoot him with? Can I touch it? And he like takes the bullets out while the guy's talking to like a lady at the bar. And the guy tries to shoot him and Billy just shoots him instead. And as we pointed out at the beginning, this is what he turns and says, well, how many is that? 25? And Doc's like, 5. Like, it's like you killed 5 people and you think you've killed 25.
Yeah, let's call it 10. 10 even.
Yeah, he's like, let's call it 10. 10 even. So anyways, John Kinney, the guy who's killed more people than smallpox, is riding up on him, and so they have to get on their horses and get out of there. And they ride through this like field of thorns, just to show how tough they are, I guess. But bad guys can't ride through thorns; they're too much.
Well, because the good guys were smart, then they rode beside the thorns down the little ravine area.
Meanwhile, they're resting up. Doc. Okay, so here's something I want to point out. Doc is like bathing in a well or something. He's a skinny dude.
I said that to Mrs. Elder. I was like, wow, he's really thin in this one.
I know he was only 21 years old, and I was pretty thin too. But boy,
there's a funny story that he talked about Stand By Me with Jerry O'Connell, and saw him at a party years later. And someone was like, go over and say hi to Jerry O'Connell, the guy you co-starred with in Stand By Me. And he's like, no way. It's that Jerry O'Connell's a little fat kid in that thing. And he went over and said, hey. And he's like, it is Jerry O'Connell. And he's like, you have a better trainer than I have.
I know for years, Jerry O'Connell was the fat kid from Stand By Me. Like when he grew up, when he was on, what was that show? Sliders or something?
Yeah. Sliders.
Anyway, Billy's reading about himself, and Doc he's like, hey, so it looks like we're heading back.
That Dirty Steve pops up out of the water, too, that he's bathing in. You're not going to get a whole lot cleaner with him in there.
Oh. Yeah.
Dirty Steve bath bomb.
Yeah, right. Anyways, he's like, I think we're going back to Lincoln, which is, where, and Billy's like, well, that's where we find all the guys that killed John. And they're like, no, stop. We got to get out of here. They got to find us. They're all mad. He's like, there's 50 of them and 6 of us, or 5 now because Dick is dead. And Doc is like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm going to Mexico. And then I love Charlie. He goes wherever. He's like, yeah, Mexico sounds good. But earlier on, he was like, yeah, Chavez, we're going west. He's like, just anything that takes him not to getting killed, which, you can't argue with it. But they're like, yeah, we're going to Mexico. And he's like, all right, well, it's like a day's ride through those thorns, and then there's scalpers there, and all that stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, let's go to Mexico." And they're like, "Oh, damn,
God, this guy,
can't
win."
So they get to this
old Mexico too.
I know they always call it old Mexico because they're in New Mexico,
right?
Mr. New Mexico. Oh, next movie.
So they get to this village, and Billy he wants to dictate a letter to the governor, and he's saying, I'm gonna surrender. And meanwhile, we see Charlie, making time with a lady,
special woman.
I guess I always assumed that because he got his cherry popped, and now he's like, okay, now I'm ready. But I guess it's mom, and I guess it doesn't matter. I guess that doesn't really work. But anyway, so he's dictating the letter, and then he's again, he's in a bathtub. Actually, these guys are pretty clean, to be honest. There's a lot of bathing in this movie. I love it. He gets out and he says, "P.S. I changed my mind. Kiss my ass."
And for the benefit of the audience, here's my ass when someone
Right. Kiss
pop
this.
out. Yeah. When someone runs in and says that Charlie's getting married.
Charlie's getting married. Yeah. There's also a really funny part that I had completely forgotten about until I watched it the other day. But like, they think that they're probably gonna get killed. Steve goes up to Chavez. He's like, "Damn good ride with you, Chavez." And Chavez says, "Any nights, my friend, I put a blade to your throat while you were sleeping." And Steve is like, "Oh," it's pretty funny.
You're like, "I'm glad I didn't kill you. You're all right, Steve."
Yeah, glad I didn't kill you, Steve. You're all right.
Then he
I
gives
love
him like
that.
a nice smile. He's like,
Yeah.
"Ting."
He's like, "What? What?" All that time he was like, "Yeah, dirty Mexican," and here he was. He could have killed them anytime. Anyway, so yeah, Charlie gets married. There's a big party. Pat Garrett shows up just to tell Billy that Murphy's boys are going to kill Alex McSween. And so they're like, "Oh shit." Like, I figure somebody's gonna be able to go and help him. Of course, Pat's, I don't know why. I mean, why would you be like, "Why don't you do it?" But anyway.
Yeah. Why'd you come out here to tell me
Hey,
this?
come on out here to tell me to go help this guy because he says, "A friend we share." Oh, I want to give you some news about a friend we share. I guess you're not that much of a friend. You could. It's kind of just foreshadowing because he says, "Pat, are you my friend?" And he's like, "Yes, I am, Billy." So again,
And he
more
also
foreshadowing.
turns his
Right.
back on him too. You think, "Oh, this could be the scene. Get shot."
Yeah, that's supposed to
I've been wanting to ask you guys, not just during this podcast, but like
Ever
past
since
couple
you've known
years.
us.
Are you my friend?
Yes, we
Oh,
are.
yes,
You can-
I
you can-
am.
You can save your answers till we do the rating of the movie.
So
I'm
there's
gonna have to
another
come
nice
up with an
part.
excuse to not say anything. Maybe I'll go to the casino instead.
Yeah, let's see what the random generator says
I'm
about
busy. Can't do my rating. I gotta go.
that. Thurston's got to eat.
There's gotta eat. Sorry. So, anyways, they're gonna go save Alex, but they're like, "Charlie, you should stay. You have a wife." And I like it. Billy can't even. He's trying to do the right thing, but he's still kind of a jerk when he's doing it. He's like, "Bah, besides, she's crying. It's really giving me a headache." Like, I mean, like, you can't.
She's annoying and ugly and weird. Just go.
Yeah. But I like it. Charlie actually pushes her away and gets on his horse. He says, "It ain't easy having pals." So they're gonna go. They go to Alex's house, and it's a farce.
Oh.
It was all a farce. Murphy's guys surround the house, and they're gonna, wait him out, I guess. I mean, like, this did happen in real life, and this was like 5 or 6 days, I think. But yeah, they can't get out. The place is surrounded. I also like, of course, there's a famous scene where Billy just shoots a guy in the head. He's like, "Hey, I see you got Charlie Crawford down there," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got him," and he just shoots him in the head through the
He's like,
window.
I see you got Tom Cruise down there.
Yeah, let me blow that guy away.
It's me.
And a dick. Yeah, right.
And
This
his
is the
his
part.
crazy maniacal laugh. Like,
Yeah.
I guess you don't got him down there no more.
This is the part of the movie that that it kind of falls apart for me because of the house is surrounded, but
Well,
Chavez,
yeah, I mean, they
yeah,
have to
we'll
kind of
we'll
figure
get
it out. There is a funny moment, too, because that guy, John Kinney, is out there, that Charlie, looking
Oh,
out the
yeah,
window, and he
love
sees him, and he's like, "It's John Kinney." And he keeps saying it over and over.
It's
And
Junkin,
Doc,
it's Junkin, it's Junkin.
yeah, Doc finally says, "Thank you very much, Charlie." Even though, like, he was always kind of like, his buddy and everything, that he's just like,
It's just like, all right, shut up. Things are bad enough.
Yeah.
Right?
right. They hide out upstairs in the attic, and the next morning, the troops, actual military troops, come in, which is what Billy wanted all along. He wanted he wanted attention. Is really what he wanted. He wanted like the government to come down and look and see what's going on, see what Murphy's doing, and his corrupt people are doing. So
Literally, the cavalry. They're
Yeah.
all like in their, F troop. They're all on horses, and they've got those Union uniforms on.
yeah, they were basically, like Civil War soldiers or whatever. But it's funny. So again, based on like real life versus story versus movie, they overhear him and they're like, they got 30 boys up there, maybe 40, and there's only 5 of them. So it's kind of like, in real life, the story is there were a lot more regulators, and maybe it's because people thought there were. But yeah, so they're like, oh, son of a bitch. And this is the part we were talking about where Yin, the Chinese girl, is with Jack Palance, but she jumps off his wagon and starts running towards the house. And yeah, he just yells, China! China! Like, does he not know her name?
Yeah, well, I think he does, but it's a dehumanized thing.
He doesn't,
you know?
right, he doesn't care.
Doesn't really call her by her name because he doesn't care.
Right. So yeah, Doc goes and grabs her. They get her in the house. So, and then Murphy says, burn it! And the guy's like, excuse me. This guy playing the general is not a very good actor, actually, I got to say. I think everything is kind of overacting. Excuse me, Mr. Murphy. But Jack Palance says, burn it! So they torch the house. So the house is kind of on fire. Charlie starts freaking out. He's like, I got a wife. And Billy's like, come on, Charlie. If you don't start whipping some ass, you're never going to see her again. They start like shooting out the window at the bad guys.
This was making me think of like the old days when we would try to get Redshirt Brian to come play baseball with us. We'd have to be like, Redshirt Brian, if you don't get out here and do this, you're never going to get laid again or something. No one will want to be with you.
Could have been 30 or 40 of him in there.
Yeah, right. So while they're shooting, we see Chavez kind of sneak down the stairs, but it's it's actually not very subtle at all. He just goes downstairs. We don't see him again for a while.
But that's my problem with this scene. The house is surrounded.
He's in the spirit world.
Oh, that's. You know what? Mrs. Elder had a good no prize for me, and I don't remember what it was now. Sorry. Oh.
Well, you live in the same house. When we send
I suppose I could just ask.
And actually, so Alex's wife Susan is up there, and they send her down. They're like, a lady's coming out. I like that, chivalry in the old West, So she goes down, and I love it. She slaps the general in the face, and that's when he's like, "Get her out of here!" Like, he's not very good, but whatever. But in real life, this woman did become like a prominent cattle rancher after this. So,
oh, nice.
She was like she did well for herself. Anyway, so because of the smoke and whatever the place is burning, they start throwing all this stuff out the windows. It's looking bad, but they throw this big trunk out.
Which, Ben, that lands with big thud.
Yeah. And because Billy, the kid, pops out of it and just starts shooting. And it's all in slow motion, so it's all very dramatic.
It's pretty funny. We were actually giggling at.
Yeah, I mean, the level of what we're used to, be it CGI or just movies in general, this slow motion honestly looks bad as a piece of film.
Yeah,
it's not as part of the story, and not like it took me out of it. Not like I am hating on the movie. It's not going to affect my rating, but it did it looks pretty bad. It's like they did it in slow motion, but they didn't film it at double speed or something. So it's it's just very choppy.
Just slowed down. Yeah, so it just looks
and it's also I think what doesn't help is the audio is, you know what I mean? Like the gunshots.
Everything about it is not working. There's a lot of music in this movie that I also don't think works with all the
heavy guitar. Yeah.
There was a part where it's 80s synthesizers playing, and it was starting to remind me of the Perfect Strangers theme a little bit when they were riding next to the
rise and fall.
Yeah,
on the wings.
Yeah, I was like, "Oof, this is." I'm glad the next movie has a different composer.
Yeah,
but what you were saying, Thurston, too, when if you're joking around with your pals and you do something in slow motion, you go, no, you're going to catch a drink that's falling off the picnic table or something. It's exactly that in the real movie, but it's no.
Yeah, as Billy's covering, I guess, by shooting it, they all run out, and Doc goes, run! Like he really is like a bad. And then they'll like go fast, and then they're like back to slow again. I don't know. It's weird. And yeah, Chavez, I guess, comes from the spirit world. I don't know, but yeah, he's got horses for them to ride off on. In a nice moment, like he is kind of shot off one of it off his horse, and Steve like helps him back on, and then Steve gets shot. And Charlie is there, and he's shooting, but he's getting shot a little bit. And John Kinney's there, and he goes, "All right, Kinney, you bastard, it's you and I," which I always thought was a fun callback to the beginning. And they start shooting at each other, and they basically, Charlie with his dying breath shoots Kinney dead, and then falls dead. Yeah, but meanwhile, Doc and Yin. China, they get on a horse. Billy gets on a horse, and Chavez, and they all ride off. But yeah, meanwhile, Jack Palance is there, like, "Oh, go get them, at them!" And Billy turns around, and he says, "Reap it, Murphy, you son of a bitch!" Shoots him right between the eyes. And that's supposed to be the end of the Lincoln County War.
Jack Palance gets to do a good shot in the head death scene, which he probably doesn't really get to do because he's usually the hero.
Well, this is a really, really low budget movie. The Shape of Things to Come, which is an H.G. Wells book, and at the end, there's like the place that he's in is just falling apart, and he gets hit with this huge like girder, which is obviously like styrofoam, and it's really humorous. And that was what I was thinking of when he died there. Then the giant girder just falls on his head.
Again, it's kind of a slow motion. They go back to the slow motion for his death scene, and it's fine though. It is a good death scene. You're right.
Just for a legendary actor,
right. You want to get a good,
get
a good death scene in there. Alex, meanwhile, is shot down with a Gatling gun. That seems a little.
Randy Travis's Gatling gun.
Yes, that's right.
Stinger.
Randy Travis.
Forever and ever, amen. Actor, he does it all. Randy Travis is the Chris Christopherson of this movie.
I was thinking he was the Chris Isaac of this movie, but yeah.
Oh yeah,
I just kind of thought he was Randy Travis.
Wicked game you've played.
Anyways, then yeah, like there's like a little epilogue where they say like what happened to them, and like Doc and his lady and all of her family apparently went to New York, and
was this all of her family?
Yeah, narrator
Oliver
voiceover.
And yeah, Kiefer Sutherland is narrating this. Chavez went west, I guess. Finally became like a.
I think it's this part that everybody was like, wait, how did they do a sequel then? Because we already found out what happened to everyone. Now it's like, well, it gets a little more depressing in the next one.
Yeah.
It opens in the next one. It's Ron Howard. He's like, they did not, in fact, go west.
Well, I mean, they did all that. I mean, the stuff that happened, the stuff that he says happened. They just didn't say, oh, and then he was brought back and killed.
Yeah.
Spoiler warning.
Spoiler. Hey.
But the big part was that, he mentions Billy was caught by the sheriff, Pat Garrett, and killed, and he was unarmed and shot in the dark, which all did happen. And then he talks about someone sneaking into the grave because he was buried next to Charlie, which I thought was which is true. And they said someone snuck into the grave and chiseled an inscription on the tombstone that said "Pals." Not true, but still a cool way to end the movie. So, yeah, and then we get that guitar that that sounds kind of like the perfect. Now I won't be able to not hear the Perfect Strangers theme every time I think about this movie, but it's whatever. Like it's the 80s, and it was fine. They were trying something different. I'm not gonna hate it. But
yeah, it's like
you can
it's almost like when he said that it was a heavy metal I get
Maybe
the
not quite
idea
heavy
of what-
metal, but
I get the idea of what he was trying to say. Like he was like, I guess I would say is like we're gonna make like a rock and roll Western movie, or
Yeah,
like, you know,
and
we're
he
gonna
was sort of wanting it to be more like the old Clint Eastwood.
Jack Palance
Yeah.
type movie.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Yeah.
Lead.
John
no,
Wayne.
This
Newton.
is not.
Okay.
This is
John
not
Wayne
one of those. This is not one of those like
Lee Van Cleef.
classic. Right. It's not a spaghetti western for one, but also it's like it's just not. It's not that. It's a very different kind of western, and to its credit, I think.
Yeah,
I see. Though that this came out, and then right after this, the Back to the Future 3 Western came out, and then YoungGuns 2 came out, and then Unforgiven. So the Western was kind of in again, and then Tombstone and Wyatt Earp and stuff. It was in for about 5 years or so.
Yeah, well, I mean, anything that makes money, Hollywood just, quick, make some more of those, so.
But they had also, by the time they had done these movies, it was kind of like, I bet they were kind of thinking like, how come we don't do Westerns anymore? They were always so popular. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's kind of like the vision. Let's try one. Let's put hot sex up there and see who's going to see it.
I mean, like, and the music wasn't traditional Western music. So like, let's try something different. Let's have a electric guitar in it. And, sure, if you're an actor, maybe you want to do like a, historical type Western, but I don't know.
Well, he's developing YoungGuns 3 right now, so.
No kidding.
Yeah, I don't know.
Really?
Not really young if you're like in the 60s, but.
I mean, when was the last time Emilio Estevez really did much of anything?
Yeah, he did that one-hit wonders thing on VH1 like 25 years ago, but that's the last thing I've seen.
25 years ago. I remember him in the first Mission Impossible, and he got killed so fast. I was like, I guess that's it for him. Like, I was like, wait, what?
Lasagna, don't get any on you, whatever the line was.
Because when he gives him the gum.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny because YoungGuns 3 is...
Who am I?
Well, the Mighty Ducks, Loaded Weapon, the National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah. But
not all
Mighty
National
Ducks
Lampoon
TV.
movies are good.
Yeah. I mean, recently,
YoungGuns 3 to be called Guns 3. Guns 3.
Oh, boy.
Dropping
So not even Young Guns.
Dead or Alive. And
it's
going to also have Christian Slater in it.
Oh, so he also...
You don't see him much anymore, too.
Another old guy. But yeah, I mean, he did 10 episodes of the Mighty Ducks TV series in 2021. So he's still...
I didn't even know that was a TV series. So.
I didn't either. So, but I mean, he hasn't really been lighting the world on fire, but I mean, whatever. He's working, I guess.
I mean, he might not want to, too. I think.
Right.
Have we talked about that before? Where we're just like when people are famous and then they're suddenly like, I'm kind of tired of doing this. I'm just going to stop.
Yeah.
It might be one of those.
We were talking about somebody recently just gave up acting. I forget. Something we did recently that was like a thing we were talking about. They're just like, I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Evangeline Lilly retired from acting recently.
Really?
So
wasn't she in some
your dreams for an Ant-Man 4 out the window?
Didn't she have some kind of no, she wasn't canceled, but she had some weird political views. I thought I read.
Yeah,
maybe she didn't. Maybe she didn't retire on her own terms. Maybe nobody wanted to put her in a movie anymore. But I hope they don't make an Ant-Man 4 because that Ant-Man 3 was pretty terrible. And it wasn't her fault. I'm not saying it's her fault.
So what is your final thoughts on Ant-Man 4? What do you give it? Or Ant-Man 3?
Whatever. I don't know. It was bad. It's terrible. I don't even want to grade it. Incomplete. How about that? Remember you?
Yeah, she gets an incomplete. Everybody gets an incomplete, especially.
Because they didn't finish writing the movie.
Corey Stoll as what's his name? Floating head guy. What's that guy?
MODOK. That was
MODOK. That was like the weirdest. I don't want to ever see a movie ever again. Thank you. Like I'm done with movies. I'm done with movies now. but not done with Western movies from
No,
1988. Let's get
In
back
fact,
on track here.
good job. Good job, Clay. What did we think of? Oh, should we do like the randomizer thing?
Oh yeah, randomize it.
Who goes first? This is the weirdest thing. Why does it have to verify that I'm human? I'm just literally asking you to list 3 names.
But are you human? Just making sure.
Are you a human? It takes forever. Shit, does anyone want to go first?
Are you doing it or not? I mean,
I'm doing it. It's verifying that I'm human. I'll just go first.
Choose the picture that has socks in it. Oh, I can't. Is that a sock or is that a bird? The image is so blurry. We have to do that shit.
Sock. I've never gotten sock.
No, I know. It's always like traffic lights or something.
Yeah,
like
traffic
that.
lights
like,
or bridges or something like that.
Like a little piece of the traffic light is in this other frame. I don't know if that counts.
This thing is
motorcycles.
weird. This is a funny thing. I remember when we watched this movie, we literally went to see YoungGuns 2 that night. I think,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you remember this, John?
Yeah, we watched it at Slaw's house, right?
Yeah, we watched it on video and went to see the movie that night. So I think it's weird for me to separate the two. You know what I mean? To me, it's almost like one long story, which kind of is. Although the second one, I will say, is better. But I think watching it now as an adult, watching YoungGuns as an adult, I think it's pretty good. Like you said, Clay, it's paced very well. There's no lulls or anything. Some of the dialogue is. A lot of the dialogue is very funny. I love, the characters all have very distinct personalities. It's all very, it's not just Emilio Estevez as Billy the Kid. Obviously, he kind of steals the show, but, the other guys are all very interesting. They all have their own arc. They all have their own reasons. And, it's pretty good. I don't know. I mean, I think this is a solid B. I'm going to give this movie. So.
Yeah, my God.
So there we go.
Yeah, I'll go second. Might as well.
It's still asking if I'm human, so.
Well, we know the answer is no. I'm going to give this movie an A-. I feel the other way. I actually like this one better than the second one because the second one kind of depresses me because of the. I won't get into it.
Because you were.
Don't get into it because it's been years since I've seen it.
All right. Well,
it just has a very sort of like the second half of that one just is kind of a downer for me. But I mean, I still had some problems with the story with the ending where they could just sneak out after saying they can't sneak out because it's surrounded. But I gotta look past it.
Spirit World.
Spirit World. Maybe there's just a tunnel underneath, and that's technically the Spirit World, a secret underground Underground Railroad. But the performances are good. I do think that the writing is witty. It does move a lot. Yeah, so A-. I enjoy it, and it's just the right amount. Except, like I said, the score. I ding it for the score and the ending. So
there you go. Ding,
ding, ding, ding.
All right, ding, ding, ding. I guess I'll go last this time.
Yeah, might as well.
Okay, so. I'll say a couple things I'll mention one scene that we didn't talk about when it happened, which was when McCluskey guy is found out to be a rat, to be a mole.
Right.
And they're just kind of out there in the bramble or whatever, and he's like, hey, maybe we should go over here.
I'm thinking, Clay, that you're not listening to half of our podcast because we did talk about this.
I did kind of mention, but sure. Anyway, what was
when he was like, I knew he was a rat. Bam! Like that was like totally gangster. I really like that part. Maybe mentioned it. I don't know.
I think I glossed over because I wanted to get to the shooting in the head thing because it really just was. I always thought that was
it's just like the build up to it, and it's kind of like that. Because when I watched it twice for this, and then seeing it the second time through, and seeing it when he shows up at the ranch house, and just like, oh, he fired me. and then you're kind of like, yeah, obviously this guy's a rat. But when I watched it the first time, it didn't really occur to me. That's all I'm saying. It's like the second time through, I was like, oh yeah, that's how. He's like, yeah, I knew he was a no good bum, dirty Steve bum. But, anyways, things that you ding it for with the soundtrack, John, and stuff like that. I kind of gave it some extra points for that. Like I give this movie a lot of credit for doing something different, because I've watched a lot of traditional Western, and this is a very different movie. Like, this is a Hollywood sex symbol movie. It's an ensemble. Get all these guys out there and put it out there. Like, I kind of like the like them trying to do something a little bit different, even though it's not that great. You know what I mean?
It automatically dates when the movie was made.
Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely true. Yeah, it does do that.
And so I'm gonna give it probably a flat B, and that's not to say I don't like it. It's a flat B, because I like a more traditional Hollywood movie, even though I give this credit for being actually like really well done. But it's not like gunslinger comes to town, like rides in on his horse. Like, it's not like a very traditional Western movie, although it is like kind of based on that. Like, these guys all have like modern to the time, in 1988 haircuts and stuff like that. They look like it's dated in the time of the 1980s, which is a time that I very much enjoyed watching movies and seeing what Hollywood was going to feed us. And I ate it right up, and I ate it up then. I'm eating it up now. But, like, it would have to be like kind of a more traditional Western movie for me to give it like in the A range. But I do like this movie. It's fun. I look forward to 2, because I don't really remember watching it. And yeah, that's been great. Flat B.
No, it's pretty good. So there you go, A-, and we both give it solid Bs, I think. It's good. I thought I had one more thing to say. Now I can't remember it, but yeah, when we get to 2, it'll be, I don't know. Oh, it'll be another movie that we do.
When we get to 2, it'll be another one that we do. Yeah.
We'll do it in a couple of weeks. But, it is a different movie. So I don't know. I always thought, well, we'll see how I feel when I watch it again for the first time in a while.
I was actually surprised at how much of this movie came back to me, because I can't say that I've watched it in like at least 25 years. And the same thing with the second. So it's been a very long time, but I'm sure the second one will all come back to me as well.
I remember back in the day when I used to rent movies and copy them, with my 2 VCRs. I thought I was really doing something there. I had YoungGuns 1 and 2 on one tape.
Yeah, the problem with YoungGuns 2 was that it had that copy protection on there, so that it would do that
little blurry
lighter.
Yeah, it wasn't a great copy, but I watched it.
I ended up buying a used copy from Blockbuster for $5 or something.
Nice.
I like that you guys saw both of the movies like on the same day and have that like memory of going to Scott's house and like watching it. Like, yeah. I remember this movie when it came out. My sister loved Bon Jovi, and I remember this was probably on cable a bunch. But like you, John, I mean, I haven't seen the movie in 25 years, but also didn't really remember it. So watching it today was kind of the first time I've seen it in a while. You know what I mean? Like really watching it. And and I was delighted to see that I don't really have any problems with it, even though I said that stuff about the production and stuff earlier. Like, I kind of like the things that I don't like about the production of it. You know what I mean? The thing about I kind of like that. Like, you're right. It's like, especially because maybe it's because it sets it up with that opening scene, like the opening credits or whatever you call it. And it's like, this is a music
Right.
video. This is 1988. This is John Bon Jovi. This is Lou Diamond Phillips and Emilio Estevez. And like, these are the guys. And like, this is Brat Pack. This is like, these guys are awesome. Like, it put me back in that time in 1988. And then into the 90s when you see it like on cable or whatever a million times.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of like almost a nostalgia kind of thing in a way where you're like, yeah, like even though it is cheesy, like you said, but like it's still kind of fun, you know. And I can look back now and not as the angry young man that I was for most of the 20 years or so after this movie came out, but like I can look back now and be like, yeah, it was, you know.
That'll be your version of YoungGuns. Will be
Right.
angry young man.
Angry young gun. Yeah. Okay. That'll just be man. The third part 3 will just be man. I'm not angry or young.
I love that you
Man.
guys saw. I really, honestly, I love that. Like, I'm not jealous, but I'm just like, I love the fact that you guys like saw this and like remember that and can remember this movie like in that way. Like, that's so awesome to be able to like remember that and connect with it that way. And then having you guys know a lot more about the story and stuff. So, there's not really any quotes. I don't really remember like.
I think that's
many
the
quotes
interesting
from
thing
this.
about this movie, and you don't have a lot of like really stand out. The thing I think that most people remember it for is the peyote scene, but I feel like the second one is more remembered for the "Yoo-hoo, I think I'll make you famous"
Right.
line.
I'll make you famous. Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how this one stacks up when we watch the next one. But
And then
I think
if you're at like, and I think we're going to probably do Tombstone too. And like, cause that to me is more of a, I can already say that I'm going to probably rate that one higher because it's more of like a Western movie that I'm used to liking and enjoying. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit more traditional, I guess.
well, we'll get there. But yeah, obviously it was the Kevin Costner Wyatt Earp that came out like the same year.
Yeah,
And that was sort of more traditional Western. It was also like about 8 hours long. So,
yeah, like
but we'll
I
get
tried
there.
to watch it, and I don't think we'll do Wyatt Earp, but yeah, I tried to watch that, and it didn't make it that far through it.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a few westerns here. So saddle up.
Maybe not all in a row, but
hashtag saddle up.
No, we're not gonna do all the way. We're gonna have a few westerns.
roll up.
Yeah,
Every single Western ever made, we're doing.
that would be a whole different. Saddle up better than Charlie Sheen did.
There you go. Hashtag that. Saddle up
Make
better
you
than
guys watch,
Charlie
like,
Sheen.
make you guys watch like a Gene Autry like one where they're like singing and stuff.
Yeah, let's do that. All right. Well, I think that's all we got. Don't forget to check us out, LeaguePodcast.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you for listening.
Yeah.
And see you later.
I
wanted to think of like a Western. Like,
yeah. What
do they say?
That's why I said
Yeehaw?
Yeah, yeehaw.
Much obliged. That's a good one.
Regulators roll out.
Yeah.
Did you see this president talking to the goddamn